Another day, another Ares magazine, number 13, Damocles Mission, 1983, possibly this one. Marco Wargamer already has or Marnudo, or I'm not sure what he's called on Board Game Geek. He already has a video on this page kind of talking about it. There's nothing wrong with his video that I feel I need to add to it or anything. I just wanted to kind of continue with my look at these Ares magazines, and I'll just give you my perspective on the whole thing and run you through the game and what happened in the game that I just finished. Let's see, so we start out with a little bit of Chrome, I guess they call this, or a little bit of errata, or a little bit of kind of backstory, give you a little bit of something to help get you into the story. We get a story by Timothy Zahn, illustrated by Timothy Truman. It's based on a concept by Redmond A. Simonson, our man. Let's have a look at some of the Truman art there. Just a nice little sci-fi story right out of the top of the magazine, just to give you a taste of what this issue's game is going to be about, which is kind of nice. Some pretty great art there. Just a few pages there. And then we get ourselves into the game. There's also some Star Trader game enhanced piracy, subversion, corruption, and insurance. So some extra bits for Star Trader, and again, Timothy Truman art. Seemed to be the artist for these magazines. Damocles Mission, the game. So it's a paragraph system game. So what that means is, at the back of the rules, there's a whole bunch of different numbered paragraphs that basically tell you a story. So it's almost like an idea of a choose your own adventure, sort of, except you don't really have a choice of where you go to. It's kind of randomly drawn where you go to these paragraphs, and there's different outcomes. And you have to basically discern what this craft is that you're searching, or there's going to be something that will come up throughout your investigation of the craft that will lead you to some victory conditions. You have a certain amount of days to complete the mission, and that is based on how many people you have in your search party. They say that you have 200, did they call it units? Did they call it, I'm not sure what they called it. There was 200 units of something that you then divided by the amount of people that you have in your control, in your party, round that number up, and that is how many days you're going to get. Here we go. So the first time the Damocles Mission game is played, a time value of 200 is assigned to the player. This value is used to determine the number of days available to complete the exploration of the artifact and to return to the shuttle. This value is divided by the number of members in the exploration team, rounding all numbers up, and the result equals the number of days available. And then that, what this game basically sets out to do is, based on your victory conditions, every time you play afterwards, you're going to get a different kind of way to start based on what your previous game was and how well or how bad you did. Because it was the first time, I started with 6 people, and so that gave me an availability of 34 days, and they give you a little chart there to mark it off, as well as some other things. This was something that they do have something similar in the back of this. After the paragraphs, they give you a similar sheet. I just went on Board Game Geek to look to see if they had this available, and I guess a user had put this together, which was pretty good. The discovery of new access ways, team member skills, and then sequence of play notes down there. Pretty handy little resource. So the actual game instructions are about 9 pages, and then there's, sorry, let's go this way. I won't give you too much of a look at this, but here's all the paragraphs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. and it's numbered all the way up to 258 separate paragraphs. And that's where the meat of the game is, in reading those paragraphs and following a story through. The usual kind of introduction with the read this first, a little bit of a prologue to this as well, and then an introduction to the game and the components, breaking down what every tile is and things like that. And then we get right into the game terms, how to set up and start, the breakdown of the different crew members that you can have and their kind of special abilities, and then a breakdown of the different equipment and who can use them. There's some, like this magnetometer, only an astronaut may use the magnetometer. Then there's some like the simple tools. Oh no, sorry, vision equipment, sorry. Vision equipment can be used by anyone, and it must be taken along by the team. You have to have 2 astronauts, and you have to have the vision equipment for the play of the game, period. Equipment and its use, skills and their use, and then we get to the sequence of play, and then just breaking down all that. So you start out, as I said, you start out with discovery, your discovery chit. Here, I'm going to pause, and then we'll be able to get a bit closer with my camera and its fun focus. There we go, that's better. So you start out with your discovery chit and your team chit, which this you put at the first tile, because that's what you're going to have to make it back to upon completion of your mission, before your days run out. The team chit just represents all these pieces that you have here, just in one little unit that you just move throughout the board. When you start, I'll just put this over here. When you start, this is what the game looks like. You randomly select, there's 3 different colored, these are basically the rooms, and there's 3 different colored versions of like this, they're the sections of the ship. A white, a yellow, and a green. You pick 12 from all of them, you put the rest back. Out of those 12, put them into their colored piles, randomly pick 1 from each, and do kind of a blind shuffle. Pick one of those tiles. Whatever color you happen to pick is what you're going to start on, and that's the pile that you start on. So from then on, every time you're told to pick another tile, it's going to be from the original color. Once those are done, then you move to the next one, then you move to the next one. Each item listed here, vision, ohm meter, and a Geiger, has a number beside it. In order to kind of activate this tile, in other words, to turn it over to get to read a paragraph, you have to roll 2 dice. 1 is for the tens and 1 is for the singles. So 21 is what that would be. I was using red for the tens. If you get below that number, say you used vision, which is right there, that vision chit, which is something that I've picked, I have to get a 63 or less. Let's say that I rolled a 53. I roll a 53, I'm allowed to turn this marker over. I look at the vision. There's going to be a range of numbers. It's 32 to 63. If I fell into that range with my roll, which I did, it means that I was successful, and I would read paragraph 166, which would then tell me something that's happened in it. It could be good. From my experience, it was always bad. If you're lower than 32, that means that it's backfired and you have to read paragraph 15. That's one thing that actually didn't happen to me in the rooms that I got to search before my game was done. So I'm assuming that will tell you something horrible has gone on. There's different symbols for the different rooms. This is what's called a power tile. We have power tiles, we have artificial intelligence tiles, and we have control tiles. And each room has a different kind of there's different things that are going to happen with them depending on which you've picked. I think I always picked control tiles by the looks of things. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's just the way it came up. It happened to be control tiles. So then you read the paragraph, and then you go on from there. It's going to tell you some things. It's going to tell you that the tile is turned on, for example, which then you place a green. This one I searched it using vision. It told me that the tile was turned on, so I took the number 1 to represent vision and put it to its green side, so if I have to come back through the room, I know that this tile is turned on. It might tell you something like this: impassable. This one, when I read paragraph 154, I believe it incapacitated one of my crew members and then told me that this room was impassable until I turned it off at a later point. Which means that if it's impassable, you just have to backtrack back to the room you were in and try to find another access way. You can have 3 access ways open at a time. They can be on, you can have one on 3 different sides, or you can have, like I have here, 2 on one side, 1 on the other. But you can't have more than 3. What else can I tell you about that? You're basically just going through the game and trying to uncover the story and uncover the mystery of this vessel. And in doing so, you're just coming into these rooms. Things are happening, like I said, to your players. You can find alien artifacts. You can get some extra information about the tiles and about the ship that you can keep some notes on. They prefer that you don't, unless you have taken this recorder. Then that means you've kind of recorded information that you've learned, which kind of allows you to take some notes. Obviously, if you want to take notes as you're reading the paragraphs, who's going to stop you? But I don't know, it seems right to kind of play it as designed. So I went there, and I didn't really last long enough to take any notes, because as you can see, there's my game right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then every room that I went into, this is the one that I started on. So where's my discovery? I started here, went this way, it was impassable, came back, went this way, that one was impassable, came back. I decided to take 2 hallways on this one because this one collapsed and it's unusable anymore because it's not there. Gone into this one and it was impassable as well, so that ended my game because I can't get any further than those rooms. So kind of a shitty way to have a first game go. Now, how do you use the mission days? There's a few ways that mission days can be checked off. One of the ways is if you roll doubles. When you're checking the rooms, let's say you had a Geiger and you were doing 26. That's 26 or less. You can roll as many times as you want to get 26 or less. You can do 1 roll using a Geiger. You can do your second roll using your ohm meter. You can do your third roll using a vision. You can do your 4th roll going back to Geiger again if you were still unsuccessful. It doesn't matter which one of these you choose. It doesn't matter how many times you choose it, and it doesn't matter how many times you roll. Obviously, when you're dealing with numbers that are lower, it's a little more difficult. There's more chances to roll doubles. When you roll doubles, you check off one of the boxes on your mission days, and that is how how time is determined. Now, when you get to an impassable, when you do find a hallway basically, and you move from one room to the next, that's considered another mission day. So you cross another day going to it. If you reach a room that's impassable like I did and you go back, because it's a hallway that you've already discovered and you've already traveled through, you don't lose another day. But when you get back to your original room, you have to roll the dice. If you roll, in this case, a 56 or more, that that hallway has been destroyed. In these ones, 64 or more, 63 or more, that kind of tunnel has been destroyed. I think this was a 52 here that was before. Yes, actually it was, because there it is right there. And I think I ended up rolling a 55. So not only did I lose the ability to get to the impassable room, I then lost a day. So you have to keep that in mind when you're kind of exploring. The further out you explore, you have to remember that you have to travel back to your discovery once you've kind of solved the game. And again, all that is kind of alien to me because all of that kind of information is in the paragraph system. So because I didn't get very far, I didn't really even get a sense of what it was I was supposed to be looking for or what it was I was supposed to be doing to this ship. Am I supposed to activate this whole ship? Am I supposed to incapacitate the ship? Are there aliens here that are going to do good? Are there some that are going to do bad? What's the premise? I'm missing the story. So it's in that way, it's a little bit unfair to give an overall feel or an overall opinion on the game, since I don't feel like I got into it enough to really get a sense of it. What I will say though was the rules were really, actually, I don't know if it's because I've read these kind of rules so many times now, I could decipher these ones a lot faster than I could the previous games. Probably because it's a little simpler. It's a really good one to kind of dive into. Again, if this is another one of those that if you're interested in these Ares gaming magazines, you don't have much experience with these type of games, period, this would be a good starter. It's not as complex. The thing I don't know how well it would be is this paragraph system. I mean, for me, there's going to be replayability already because, again, I didn't get very far. But I just don't know how much replayability there will be once you get a sense of the paragraphs and once you get a sense of the story. I don't know how many different outcomes there are possible within a system like this. It feels to me, and I could be completely wrong, that there's kind of one outcome that would come from this kind of system. Because of the randomness of the paragraphs, you have to kind of go a certain direction unless there's a different outcome for each colored room. I don't really know how that would work. It's a little lower on my overall likability of the Ares games. It's probably down near the bottom. I don't know if I'd play this one a lot. It's especially... It has even more of an impact because I'm coming out of my discovery of Rescue from the Hive, and if you watched those videos, you know how much I loved that game. So this one doesn't seem to have as much in it for me, and again, that's probably because I didn't get into the paragraphs. But even the idea of it itself is kind of cool. I don't mind it, but I don't know, it doesn't kind of draw me in like some of the other Ares magazines. And maybe that's partially due to the fact that there's no map to lay on the table. You're kind of building the map as you go. But who knows? Either way, what I do know is that I failed horribly. I just had some real bad luck here getting these, choosing these tools to open these rooms that led me to a paragraph where, one, I got guys injured and I got tools destroyed, and two, they became impassable. So it kind of left me at a standstill. I'm going to give it another try, and probably another couple of tries to be fair, just to kind of really give it a chance. But yeah, there you go. Damocles Mission. Aries magazine number 13 from 1983. Again, I think is what it said inside. Cover price of what? $6 when it came out. 1983, a $6 magazine. Wowzers. Some of the boxed games I see ads for were $5. There you go. Pick it up, give her a shot.